Hi everyone. All right, let's get down to business. We are talking Disneyland events for 2023 and we have a lot to talk about. Okay, so first off, let's go over the events that have been announced and have happened or are happening at the time of this video. Sweethearts Night is done and over. However, Darren and I did go to that for the first time this year and it was really fun. So then in March, in just a few weeks of this video, we have Princess Night that they announced and it just barely sold out as well. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of bummed that they didn't do Villains Night because last year Villains Night was so much fun. However, I want to know if any villains are gonna go and crash Princess Night. So that would totally be me if I was going. Okay, and then in April we have Spring Dapper Day that is scheduled for April 16th. And they have the convention at the Disneyland Hotel. And then they just announced Throwback Night is April 18th and 20th. And at first I was kind of confused because last year they did grad night in June, which was also confusing for people because it went into the summer season. So, I mean, it's just been so jumbled up, right? But when I read about Throwback Night, I'm just going to read it a little bit. It says, join us for an after-hours soiree inspired by the debonair days of the 50s and 60s. Swing by for a trip down memory lane in retro-inspired attire and discover Disneyland's classic past with live music and exciting entertainment. So it totally makes sense that they put it in conjunction with Dapper Day weekend. And I'm really excited. I really hope that they bring back the live big band that they used to have every Saturday night, and the swing dancers would be swing dancing in the Princess Pavilion. That is one thing I really, really miss. Coming back from the pandemic, they haven't brought it back, and such a bummer. But little side note on that, that's kind of a fun fact, is when Maria and I were talking to some of the swing dancers at that one evening, they let us know that it was the longest running swing dancing club started by Walt Disney himself in the world. So it's even more like such a bummer that it kind of got canceled out after the pandemic, because they used to meet every Saturday night and swing dance the night away. And it was so much fun to go watch, to go be included. It was all ages and it was just really fun. So I'm really hoping that they bring that back for Throwback Night. Okay, and then in May we have Star Wars Night, which they added more days for that one, and I'm excited about that. Of course, we love the Star Wars stuff. We did go to Star Wars last year, and there was a couple little disappointing things that happened, such as Ahsoka did not show up for the night, even though she was listed to show up for the night. And I know there was a lot of complaints about, you know, different things with like the merch and stuff. So I think they've been fixing that though, because Sweethearts Night, they did have those little perks back and available. So I'm excited to see what happens this year. Okay, and then they don't have anything announced as of right now. And I'll do an update if they do announce more events, but they don't have anything listed for the summer. So now we head into September, October, where we have Oogie Boogie nights. And you know how much fun those ones are. You know that I love doing the transformations for people. So there will be a separate video, especially for Oogie Boogie nights, because that is a whole different genre of preparing for if you are going to go all out and dress up. And then last year they didn't do Merriest Night, so I'm curious to see if they bring back a Christmas event for Disneyland. I know they still had it for Disney World, so who knows, maybe this will be my excuse to get out to Disney World for a Christmas event. So, and then of course, if you don't know already, they have unofficial events that happen all year long that are kind of different groups will plan things. I know there's like Bats Day coming up in May. They have Villains Stalk the Park. They have Haunt the Park. They have oh man, they have so many different ones. It's kind of crazy. So that might be a different video that I do once I research those a little bit more and get some more info. But let's head on over and checklist. Okay, so now I want to help you guys out. So if you haven't ever done an event, or maybe if you have, maybe some of these tips, and I have like a checklist for you to think about in things that you might not normally think about when going out to Disneyland. So first off, I suggest thinking about the weather, depending on what event you're going to and where it lands in the year. And this is why I say this. So Sweethearts Night was in February. Technically we went on January 30th. So it was really cold. So it was kind of a bummer because I know that a lot of people had cute shirts, like matching shirts or outfits, but then they were covered by coats, hoodies, that kind of stuff. So if you're gonna plan outfits for that, kind of think about that. Like you might want to do something like a cute sweatshirt or layering thing that you still get the cute pictures with your outfit. And then with that being said, I know that first week of Oogie Boogie Bash last year, which was around Labor Day week, it was so hot. So if you're planning Oogie Boogie, if you're in September, just plan on it being a little hotter because you can always add the layers. But if you plan a costume, oh, we were so stressed out about that because it was just so hot. It was like record-breaking hot that year. So hopefully it won't be like that again, but it usually is still pretty hot coming out of the summer months. So keep that in mind. And then in October, it can be really cold. So it's just kind of crazy with that being said. So maybe even think about your outfits, you know, being able to be layered on or layered off. Then next, of course, the theme of what the night is, what the event is, and figuring out whether your outfits are going to be Disney bounding or cosplaying or just matching shirts. There's a lot of different options that you can think about with that. And I will probably do another video about this specific thing. And then choosing like hair and makeup and all the things as well. And then also when you're figuring out what you're going to be doing as far as your outfits and goes, sorry. You want to also think about, do you want to be carrying props around? Do you want props just for pictures? Sometimes those like are really fun to have, but then when you're walking around all night long carrying them, it's kind of obnoxious. So you can always get a locker, have bags, whatever, and just think about that with whatever those props might be. Can you break them down and put them in a bag? Can you break them down and put them in a locker? You know, there's a couple little things to think about as far as that goes. Okay, another thing that I suggest, if you are a magic key holder, I suggest getting a reservation for that day because you are allowed to check in inside the park. Usually it depends, I guess it depends on which park you're at. I know for Sweethearts Night, we went and checked in at the arcade, the old arcade in Tomorrowland next to Star Traders. We were able to check in before the event even started or people were allowed in for the event. So I think it was like around 3 o'clock and we were allowed to, everybody else was allowed to come in at 6, if I remember right. So that was super nice because we didn't wait in any lines, and there's usually little photo ops in that area exclusive for magic key holders. And so it was like perfect to be able to check in. We didn't have to worry about waiting in any lines to check in. And so if you're a magic key holder, I suggest doing that, even if that's the only reason why you're going into the parks is just to check in, because you have the reservation and you just go in, check in, and you can get in just a little bit early even. Okay, so one last thing that we realized just recently was when Darren and I went to Sweethearts Night this year, we went to the very first scheduled Sweethearts Night of like whatever, however many there were, like 10 of them or something that were scheduled. And it was a little weird because I was kind of lost a little bit. Like, they do have the map, but for some reason there was certain things, like they only gave like generalized information on the map, and even some of the cast members didn't know how to direct us. Even the information cast member, I felt so bad. She was so sweet and was just like, I don't even know, like they gave me the same map that they gave you, and she was trying to help me find it. But I realized that this was because normally we don't go on the very first night, and therefore I see all my influencer friends that go on the first night that give the ins and outs and the tips and tricks and the locations of where things are located within the park exactly. And so I realized, like, oh, that's why I didn't feel like I was on top of like where we should be going. So you know, with Sweethearts Night, they had the fireworks kind of planned towards the beginning of the event, and little Miss Cricket Bugs wants to say hi. And so we sat there for those, which it was kind of a little weird, like I said, but it got canceled technically. But there were certain photo ops that we didn't end up getting to because they just ended up being too long of a wait. Once we realized like which one was in that location, or where their exact location was. So yeah, when you're planning to get your tickets and stuff, maybe keep that in mind if that's important to you, to kind of get like little ins and outs of it without it being completely you know, spoiler alerts with it. So that's going to be a personal preference, I'm sure, but something to think about. Okay, so hopefully these tips and tricks helped you and with planning your Disneyland events, and let me know in the comments below if you're going to any of these events. I'm really curious. I love collaborating and I love hearing about what people are planning. And if you are interested in hair and makeup services, I will be at most all of these events offering those. So I'll link that in the description below, as well as Rebecca with Haunted Head Fashion, who I collaborate with a lot, as far as she's an amazing designer and does really cool outfits and attire and cosplay and all the things. She's amazing. And then yeah, I want to know all the things, or if you guys have any tips or tricks for Disneyland events that you have experienced for yourself. Okay, sorry, I had to hit pause there at the end. And so I'm kind of in different lighting, but it's okay. So ask me all the questions. Let me know if you have any questions for the Disneyland events, or what you guys would like to see as far as additional videos. I am going to do one about Sweethearts Night and our experience with that. And yeah, so be sure to hit like and subscribe so you can always see when I post those videos. And then also one last tip and trick is to use my code for Getaway Today. They're gonna help you plan the travel part of it. So they're super great to work with. Anybody I've talked to when we're planning different trips and stuff, they are amazing and just super fun. They love what they do. So I wouldn't work with anybody else. So so hit like and subscribe and the notification bell as well, and have a magical day, guys.